How much help is Ruben Amorim actually going to get from INEOS this January transfer window? We're going to look into a report and comments from David Ornstein of The Athletic explaining Manchester United's PSR situation right now. And is it all as it seems? Is this down to INEOS future planning and not backing Ruben Amorim in the January transfer window? Are United really hampered by financial constraints? We've got updates on Marcus Rashford and all the other transfer speculation going around as well. But I feel a third of the way through the transfer window, I think it's time to have a look at the whole situation and just give ourselves a little bit of a recap and everything that's going on and pretty much assess where we're actually at right now. And I want to get your thoughts on this in the live chat as well, of course, in terms of what you expect from this point. Are you willing to wait? Is Ruben Amorim going to be able to get what we need out of this squad? And does this mean that this season is a free hit if no transfers come in for Ruben Amorim? I mean, that is a serious question right now. With not being given tools, with not being given money and his players coming in, is it a case of we'll just start from the start of next season, and that is it? So I want to see where you think when United can actually be at. We have got rumours and we have got more updates on a lot of things going around, but I wanted to start the show this morning on David Ornstein's comments around Manchester United's PSR situation and then try and gather a little bit of a debate going on with the live chat and where United are actually at, because the message coming out right now is that United look like they're up shit creek. Let's be honest. We haven't got a lot of money to spend. It's tight. United need to sell before they can spend. All of these rumours are flying around. It just didn't quite look the same as what David Ornstein was saying. As you can see at the bottom of your screen there, I've just quoted out a piece from his article, from his Athletic podcast where he was talking, and he says and explains in that podcast, he just says, the way it's been explained to me is that Manchester United are okay with PSR this month. There is no issue at all. So United, factually, according to numbers, according to what David Ornstein from The Athletic has said, and we can only look at that as probably the most solid, concrete sort of comment that we can get from this around Manchester United's finances right now. He has said that Manchester United are okay with PSR this month. They do not need to sell players to balance PSR. Now, I need to make that point clear. That isn't saying United don't need to sell players to buy players. United don't need to sell to balance books. So there is a difference. So if we were to actually want to bring players in, we do need to spend. But in terms of everyone pushing the PSR and United actively trying to get what deals they can done to be safe for that June 31st cut-off for the financial year, they are false. United are totally fine. How? I do not know. With the blunders that we've had in the transfer market and the overspending on average players and the situation we're in right now with how our opponents are all improving and looking like they're favourites to get good players and we're not, and we're just stuck here right now. I don't know. But just to clarify that and make sure that is clear for everybody, PSR isn't an issue as it is running right now. Yes, that could mean that Manchester United don't spend anything at all in January and still are all right, and we're stuck with the same players. The problem we have got right now is, and with the situation we've spoke about this many a times on many a shows right now, and I was worrying with the Casemiro news, which is still in progress. Al Nassr waiting to just move players on that situation. I'll bring you up to date on that in a minute, but in terms of bringing players out, I think the point I wanted to make was who is going to come in, because there isn't one academy player that right now looks like he's going to step into positions that we are really short in. I'm just being honest and truthful with that and saying it as it is from what I've watched in person, from what Ruben Amorim's got on the training ground, from sources at Manchester United, and saying who is going out on loan and what United want to do first of all. They really don't look like they're going to touch the academy right now. And I'm just worried about the season and it just petering into nothing. And again, there's that comment that I said at the top. Like, does Ruben Amorim get a complete free hit this season because of Manchester United's inadequacies in previous transfer windows that has left us with absolutely nothing to work with this January transfer window? It's an interesting one, and it really is concerning for a lot of Manchester United fans. Myself, like, I just sat there looking at it, looking at the deals, looking at who's going to go out, looking at possible targets, and then you're reading that the news yesterday, United are actually in talks and are interested in Kvaratskhelia, but Liverpool are in for him now, apparently, as well. We're also hearing that Chelsea are also interested in him, and then PSG are the front runners again. I'm thinking, and yesterday, where we do get our hopes up and we do talk about things like that, and we would really be impressed with INEOS, but I think that's the barometer, innit? It's like, what is really impressive from INEOS for us and what's not? What would convince you that INEOS have got the best interests of Manchester United at heart? Or are they just trying to do their full-on business restructure and keep Manchester United's finances in place for the time being? Because even INEOS have to realise that they cannot just stay still. Balancing books and making the finances look pretty on the balance sheet is okay. But I've said it before, if the brand is not working right, if the brand is not appealing to the public, and Manchester United, and the public being the advertisers, the commercial side of things, winning things, actually earning money that way, sponsorships, endorsements, all of that, if that isn't right or that is off, then the money dries up, and it's pointless trying to balance the books right now. There has to be some forward thinking from INEOS in terms of making things better for the team, for Ruben Amorim. And I do feel like the season could be ruined from the January transfer window if we stay still. I'm only saying that because everyone around us is improving and buying players and looking to bring players in where we're not. I mean, even if you didn't like Kolo Muani or didn't rate him, Spurs are taking him. And he's another player strengthening their squad going forward. They've got players to come back. These are the teams we're competing with. When you look at the table right now, you've got Spurs there above us. You've got West Ham in and around us. They've just got Potter now in place. They're looking to invest and bring players in as well. So you've got them, Bournemouth, Fulham, Brighton. These teams around Manchester United right now with Spurs, they're the ones that we need to be looking at. First of all, the first challenge for United is getting into the top half of the table, winning the games that we've got coming up now from now to the end of February. I think that's crucial. And then we've got a 3-month spell for the last part of the season to maybe attack the top 8 and try and squeeze into some form of Europe, even if it is trying to get close to the Europa League. That's where we're at right now, while still trying to win the Europa League. Is this squad big enough? Is this squad strong enough to handle all of them games? Well, if you start moving players out, no, it's not. Point was proven straight away in that, yeah, you could argue even when he brought Eriksen and Casemiro in for the Newcastle game because we had suspensions for Agate and Bruno, that they weren't good enough and it doesn't really matter. Look, they still need to have squad depth there. They have not got it. And I feel like the situation is that United right now, and like what David Ornstein said there, we are in a position where we're okay, but okay isn't good enough. Okay is where we are now. Okay is mid-table mediocrity. And this is where we've been before. So people will start automatically judging INEOS and saying, what have you done? What have you done in this first few years of Manchester United? Like, you've got worse. Like a year in, we're nowhere near anywhere better off. We've got issues off the pitch and everything with ticket prices and unrest within the fan base. The only thing that sorts this out, the only thing that can make Manchester United fans turn or take focus off the negative is results on the pitch. And if you do not invest and back Ruben Amorim, then you are going to have a problem, because I don't think we have enough players and we don't have the quality of players available to us to turn this around right now, if we get rid of players, that is. I've said this before. I believe there is quality in this team. You all heard me backing, and everyone's criticised me and had a go at me for saying that I think we can make top 4. I think there is quality in this team. I do. But I look at the injury situation, being hit with Shaw and Mount straight away. Obviously, now the Rashford situation has come to pass. He hasn't worked with Ruben Amorim either. He wasn't willing to pull his finger out. Garnacho's fell away as well. So you can see why everything that I had in terms of hope for Manchester United going forward under Ruben Amorim with this squad has kind of evaporated, because Casemiro and Eriksen don't want to know. Obviously, Garnacho's struggling, Rashford's gone, Mount's injured, Shaw's injured. A couple of suspensions and a couple of injury issues for United in this last half of the season, and we are officially up shit creek, and we are looking at not getting into Europe at all next season. That is an absolute disaster for Manchester United, and all of the names and all of the targets will be a bit of a struggle. And do you know what? Maybe in time this will push INEOS into taking more control over Manchester United, because they'll want to invest money in and bring Manchester United back. The money is there to invest. And I think we can just forget about the stadium for now. It's done. It's like, it's just a pipe dream. Forget it. There's no money at all, and there's no point in even looking at the stadium until the team is sorted. Maybe this is a good thing to push Glazers out if they're not willing to invest more. But right now, when you look at the January transfer window, I think it's safe. but safe doesn't cut it, and that's the problem. So where I get what Ornstein is saying, and I understand that we shouldn't be concerned about point deductions and PSR and financial fair play, and still how I don't know how we've managed that still, but we're at a level where it's just crap, and we need to invest more. And what is Ruben Amorim supposed to do? I want to get into the comment section on this right now. Is it literally a free pass because of this right now? Are INEOS giving Ruben Amorim a free pass because we have got no money to spend? Is this where we're actually at? Over 100 likes in the room already. Thank you, everybody. Keep them coming in. 900 people watching. Thank you. Get your comments in the live chat, people. Let me know what you think. Let's see what we've got. Other clubs in the Prem sign quality players with no Europe for reasonable fees. Still, this is the problem United have got. Like, everyone sees United as this big club, and we've got loads of money to spend when we haven't. So when it comes to transfers, if we're not in if we're not in Europe, teams are still going to come and try and get more out of Manchester United financially than what they would. Like, for example, the quote says, so the comment says there, other clubs that are not in Europe get reasonable fees for players. We can't do this. We're always going to be hard bargain driven, and we're always going to be ripped off, I think. Still, I think INEOS are probably the right operators to deal with that side of things, but it still doesn't bring you the quality enough in time to compete, and that's the problem we're at right now, I feel. But let's get into a few more of your comments on this one and get in. Let's just see. We can be in the top 6 if we win the next 5 Premier League games back to back. This is the problem as well. It's like, what are your expectations right now? We haven't won back to back games all Premier League season. It's not about INEOS, it's about the project. Man U needs to get some cash somehow, sign preciously and wisely. Tom says, let's see how players turn up for the Arsenal game. I don't trust this team. You lot won't win 5 back-to-back, says Brogan. So, I mean, this is the thing, when you look at the games coming up, there are winnable games, and United can move up that table. But it's sustaining it. It is sustaining it. That's the problem. And that's what we've got right now. Do want to update you on the situation with Marcus Rashford as well right now, just to go through that. Keep your comments coming in on where we're actually at with INEOS and what your expectations are for the season as well, everybody. But just to get into what's actually happening with the Marcus Rashford situation in AC Milan. Now, we spoke yesterday about them being now the front runners because they feel like they can afford Marcus Rashford's package, but he is just going to have to come down a little bit on his wages. Now, moves are being made behind the scenes with AC Milan regarding making space for Marcus Rashford. AC Milan are looking to move on Noah Okafor, I think that's how you say his name, the Swiss striker that they brought in 2023, to try and make space in the squad and obviously wage situation. Their top earner, by the way, Alvaro Morata, he's on around about 150 a week. So we can see exactly where they're at. So if you say, for instance, they moved Okafor on, he's on 68 grand a week wages. So they were making space there. If United subsidise, Rashford comes down a tiny little bit with his demands. He's still on decent amounts of money. But the whole project that we spoke about yesterday and how AC Milan, Zlatan Ibrahimovic are trying to make this seem more appealing for Marcus Rashford, building a team around him, making him basically the main man at AC Milan and making it seem like a really appealing project for him to get into. And then, well, we're hoping he does well. We all want it. We've said before. We want him to do well. But United, realistically, have to be prepared for Marcus Rashford possibly coming back again in the summer. And if he has done all right, then we probably have got a better chance of selling him again. Ideally, you want Milan to be buying him with the obligation or the option being triggered with him playing well for Milan. But we have to realise that where Milan are moving a lot of pieces around, there's no guarantee that the complete unknown, which is Rashford playing in another country and in another league, is going to work. So it's a case, his fingers crossed. And the situation that we're in, and it's like what we said at the top of the show, the predicament and the issues that were caused before, and INEOS basically saying to Ruben Amorim, look, we're in the crap. We are basically in the crap here with this. Everything is built on a little bit of hope right now for Manchester United, in that this squad can, one, turn it around on the pitch for the players that we are going to have left in the team from now, from the end of this window, to the end of the season. and that the players that have left, or even the ones that are on loan, do find something, and it actually works to benefit United in the future. And by that I mean just not just Rashford's loan, but if Anthony goes out on loan or something like that happens, some of the academy players go out on loan, you're hoping that they can hit the ground running as well. And again, the biggest concern out of all of this, and Rashford going is a massive positive for Ruben because he can just fully focus on the project in hand without the distraction. He is a massive distraction and a big problem. He's been at that club longer than anyone on that training ground. Probably even most of the staff now that are there. He thinks he runs Manchester United. He doesn't run it, obviously. I'm not saying that, but he knows everything, the full run of the club, the operation. It's all he knows. And being the most senior player there, he is a problem. Whether you think that it's not and Ruben can still work even with him in the background or isolate him, do what happened with Jadon Sancho, it doesn't help at all. And it is a major issue that needs to be moved on. And do you know what? I think a lot of Manchester United fans will come out of this transfer window and say, okay, at least Marcus Rashford's gone. At least that problem is gone, and it shows everybody. And the culture is the biggest issue at United, and we do have to make a bit of a fall. We do have to have a fall for us to come back again and find ourselves as such. But the biggest concern is, and this is where I wanted to make the point, the financial situation with where Ruben Amorim is right now. We're not getting any backing in terms of players coming in. Yes, he may get the backing he needs from INEOS gladly because it's going to help them make money in moving players on. I just hope and I pray. And the biggest concern, just to round up this section right now, is that the Ruben is still in situ at Manchester United. Because if he doesn't make Europe and he doesn't change where Manchester United are in the league right now, we don't get better on the pitch, and he hasn't been given anything at all to help himself out and digging himself out of the hole that Ten Hag dug, it's the end. It would feel like the end to me, because I just no idea where we would go from there. You cannot let him dissect this squad, do what he needs to with the squad, rebuild this culture, get everyone on board that is willing to be on board, and then get rid of him. And results will determine a lot of how Manchester United operate. It's embarrassing for a club this size to be where we are. And I just hope that they don't get cold feet and they do stick by Ruben Amorim with this. Because if he doesn't get anything in January, that for me is it doesn't matter what happens from now until the end of the season from INEOS' perspective. They cannot be getting rid of him if he hasn't got Manchester United back in Europe or in any part of Europe at all. Look, Champions League is the be-all and end-all for United, and the Europa League has to take main priority. We know this. But we still need to move up that table in the Premier League. And there will be cries, there will be media shouts, there will be pressure. And there will be fans that automatically turn as well with Ruben Amorim and start to get on his back. But INEOS, ultimately, the main players in all of this need to be right behind him. Rashford moving on is a big step forward for me, a massive step forward. And do you know what? If we haven't got anyone in and Rashford's gone and say Casemiro's gone and that's it, I'm sort of half happy with that situation. I do understand financial restraint. I do understand the PSR world and financial fair play. I know that it is a burden on Manchester United as well as other clubs. I understand that right now the situation we're in has been left too long, and Ruben is really tied. He's got his hands tied behind his back, and there's not much he can do. So I'm in an understanding of where the team is at right now and what I can expect from the rest of this season. But still, like, it is a concern that pressure may mount and outside pressure may come in, and we may end up completely tripping ourselves up here by not giving Ruben Amorim the backing that he really needs. I sort of like wanted to get it off my chest a little bit there on that one, but you can understand my concern. You can understand where I'm starting to worry a little bit on this. But yeah, I do still have confidence that United can do something in this month. It's just difficult right now. There are other news and other stories going around regarding players that come into United. So just to recap on what happened yesterday, we're at the situation where we are with Kvaratskhelia. We know that that's a bit of a long shot. We know that Osimhen has gone. So when you look at the first third of the window, we know what can happen. We know what won't happen. I think it's quite clear that United are looking at players. Just for instance, All of the names building up to the window, like Matheus Cunha, looks like he's going to sign a new deal at Wolves right now. You're looking at the Gyökeres situation. By the way, on Gyökeres, the value has been set, and there's a few reports going around from last night and into this morning that they will not hold any club to the release clause, Sporting this is, for Victor Gyökeres in the summer. And there is an agreement that he can leave for approximately 60 million quid in the summer. Just to put that into comparison, Rasmus Højlund cost more than that. 60 million for Gyökeres in the summer. You know what? When you look at it, and it had to be a great player to come in January to even think about not waiting around for Victor Gyökeres. But still, I feel like that's what we can look forward to. But then even with that, I'm like, okay, that's a great price, great deal. We're literally, for that, clinging on to hope that Ruben Amorim can get Victor Gyökeres in. Because this is the guy that's smashing it in the Champions League. This is the guy that is going to be looked at by every single major team in Europe when the transfer window opens in the summer. So that's my concern right now. Again, and it moves into what we were just saying. All of the news and all of the speculation about players that could possibly come in the summer. It's great. It's good to talk about, and it can be a little bit exciting to look at. But Gyökeres being at 60 million in the summer, it could fall into complete insignificance if United are not relevant and not doing well in the league. And that's what I mean from now until the end of the season. When you're looking at what we've got to play for, FA Cup, some form of Europe in the league, and the Europa League, we do need to start finding something. And INEOS need to get a move on in getting everything out so we know where we stand. And then if there is a chance to bring somebody in the January transfer window, right at the depth or anything like that, right at the end, then they need to be ready to go. So it's time to start getting a move on. It's time to start getting things moving. And I understand, look, with the El Nazar situation and Casemiro, they're looking to move players on quickly, and that looks like it is happening right now. So that's good. And then you look at, obviously, what United could bring in. Everyone's pretty much that we've looked at or we've been involved in or talked about, Mendes, Osimhen, Gyökeres, all of these players, Mbeumo even Cunha to some extent, like I just said, none of them are going to happen in January. None of the teams are letting these big players go. So we have to wait it out till January. But what can happen? Sorry, we have to wait out till the summer. But what can happen in January? Things can happen. Apparently, Manchester United have been offered Jonathan David again. Now, I want to get your thoughts on Jonathan David. That's another striker that is hitting big numbers over in France. He's got 6 months left on his deal. What can Manchester United realistically get Jonathan David in for? And Jonathan David can play a 10 role as well. So, is this of interest? Should United be looking at things like this? We've had absolutely nothing in terms of speculation, and I'm just putting the name out there to gauge where we're actually at. If David comes in, is he going to help us out right now? Probably you would say yes. It's debatable whether people actually think that David is the right quality anyway. He can play 9, he can play 10. You would still be looking to bring in another striker in the summer with him. Again, it falls down the road of, if you say, for instance, bought Bryan Mbeumo in from Brentford. That's not going to happen in January either. I think Brentford have put their foot down with that. But I'm just saying what's being reported at the moment and talking about it. And this is where we're at. We've gone from Osimhen to not getting any striker to seeing Gyökeres in the summer, looking at Mbeumo even being KO'd and not having a possibility to do that, to now Jonathan David, who has got 6 months left to run and is free in the summer, being offered to United in January because we look kind of desperate. Do we look this way? Are teams looking at United right now and saying they're a bit desperate? Let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can push anything onto them. And there's a part of me that says, like I've just did in the first 20 minutes there, where I'm worried and we need to make moves, arguing with myself about whether United should just stand firm and say, no, we're not just going to bring anyone in for the sake of it, unless it's a top target. We talked about it last night with Mendes and Alvaro Fernandes, and how good Alvaro is doing right now. He's absolutely smashing it at Benfica, him being the cheaper option. But if there is a better player to fit the system, we have to put the money into that, do we not? Is it time that we stopped looking at the cheaper options and just went big? I know there has to be a balance. I know there has to be part of Manchester United which is looking at these deals and bringing in players like other clubs have, and then they come of age and we end up earning more money off them in the future. if we sell them on, or they do turn out to be great players. We should be looking into the South American market. We should be looking at the cheaper deals like every other club. But we should also be looking at the best in class. And unfortunately for United at the moment, it looks like we haven't got time to invest in future stars because of the demand on Ruben Amorim right now. And we haven't got the money to invest in the best in class. So we're at a crossroads. We're at a complete crossroads with where we're actually at right now. And it just annoys you. And that's why I brought up the City comment last night. When I said, is it right that City, with everything going on and everyone's scraping around for every single penny, and they're under all these charges, that they can just go in and buy someone? Because that's what United are up against. City's worst ever, and Pep Guardiola's worst ever spell in Pep's career, and, well, he's been at Manchester City, is happening right now. We can't get anywhere near him. Anywhere near him. Like, they've won 3 games in the last 20, and United are miles away from him. Shows what the gap is. Shows how far away we are. And they're about to bring in one of the best forwards in Europe right now for 60 million plus. This goal, honestly, like, you can look at City over the last few years and say that their books have been fine and all of the charges were historical and everything going on is down with that. But just looking at where City are, and just the option to do that kind of puts it all in perspective as to where United's predicament is and what we're doing right now. It is a little bit embarrassing for us. And I think INEOS have come in with the big ideas and all of this talking the talk about how Manchester United are going to knock Liverpool and City off their perch. We're literally a year in with INEOS, are further away from that than we've ever been. And where I do get the situation, I understand it, I feel like this is what we're doing. We're arguing with ourselves. We're actually, it feels like I'm contradicting myself at the moment. I'm not. I'm just speaking out facts and talking about the situation as it is and then trying to find a way around it. And I'm hitting that wall every single time. There is room for United, just to say this. Like, we can make things happen. We can spend money. We can bring players in. But I think we've just got a sensible head on business side of things right now, running the club, that isn't allowing it. And part of me, like I just said then in arguing amongst myself, is I don't want to bring in players that aren't the right quality for the sake of bringing them in. We've done this before and it's made things worse. And right now, I don't think there is the quality in January to bring in. I don't. Looking at it, we've talked about all the players we can get and they are the right players, but they're not gettable in January, and that's the difference. I think that is ultimately where United are coming unstuck right now in how we want to improve the team, and that's where I feel we need to give Ruben Amorim a bit of leeway in terms of what happens where he finishes at the end of this season. If you can't back the man, then don't sack the man. That's what I say. That's my line of the day there. If you can't back him, you can't sack him. I'm going to get into the comments now. I've gone on long enough there. Keep your likes coming in. Well over 1,300 in the room, everybody. Over 200 likes in the bag. I want more. Please subscribe to Forever United TV as well, everyone. And thank you for all of your comments coming in. I'm going to get into loads. There's loads of deep ones coming in here. Chris P. Hackett says, people moaning about not spending money. United spent 200 in the summer. Overpaying for the wrong type of character has put United in this position. Let's just say that we didn't overpay for the wrong type of player in the summer. We spent 200 million and spent it well. Questionable on Xerxes. But the other signings are really bearing fruit for United, I feel. So I don't want to bring in this window. But a story came out yesterday. The biggest mistake we all know is Ten Hag and keeping him. Another story came out about Ten Hag not wanting Manuel Ugarte. He didn't want to bring Manuel Ugarte into Manchester United. The structure told him he was the right type of player for that position that we've needed for God knows how long. And nobody's complaining about Manuel Ugarte at the moment. He has been absolutely outstanding. So where we did spend a lot, probably made a mistake with Xerxes. I will say that. But £160 million worth of that 200 spent in the summer, I think was spent very well. Because the players that have come in, I think have done a good job for United. Unfortunately, the players that were already there have kind of overshadowed it and made it not look so good. So then it starts questioning, what are United doing with all of this money? Like, Ineos' first window was good. I think the ones before it have put us where we are right now. And I include contract extensions in certain players. People would argue Bruno Fernandes' contract shouldn't have been given. We're always talking about Marcus Rashford and his contract hampering United even selling him or having the chance to move forward. And that's where we're talking right now. We've gone from Osimhen to Gyökeres to being offered Jonathan David. That's our window in 10 days. So I think reality has hit hard right now. And obviously, I'm actually happy that we've actually got a game to play this weekend and something to take the focus off. We need to see something from these players to give us a little bit more encouragement. We got a taste against Liverpool at Anfield at weekend. We now need to see a little bit more against Arsenal this weekend. What have you got? What have you got? You can see the way the club's running. You can see what Ruben's doing. Are you going to step up to the mark? That's the question right now. More comments coming in. United Spotlight says, if they're not good enough, don't bring them in. That's what we've been doing for years. Either none, if no one or the right one. Good line again. If you're not going to back him, don't sack him. Either the right one or no one. Hey, we're getting some cracking one-liners out the show today, everyone. We're not operating in a modern football powerhouse. We're not operating as a modern football powerhouse. We're patching holes with Band-Aids. I don't think we are. Because patching holes with Band-Aids would be bringing in the not best-in-class players or the makeshift players. And we've not done that yet. Now, moving out issues is the start, I think. And I think because nothing's happened so far, I think everyone's having a little bit of a panic. Not so much a panic, but there are concerns obviously there. It's because nothing has been done so far in the transfer window. Everyone's starting to get a little bit worried. Now I'm in a position where I'm thinking, I don't actually think that we are going to bring anybody in January. That's how I feel. And I will gladly sit here and talk about a shock move where United have managed to pull off a deal for a really good player that we need. I would happily sit here and talk about it, but I just don't see it happening at the moment. That's the problem. MA says we should follow the Madrid model and sign players on a free or cut price in the last year of their contract. When you have a football structure that is based primarily on football, over years that would give you that opportunity to do that. The last decade of Manchester United has been people running United for their own benefit throughout the club, and that's not just the Glazers, it's the people that they've employed to do so. And that's why Manchester United can't do that at the moment. Inadequacies and issues, incompetence, and the way that the club has been run doesn't give United that option at the moment. And I think this is where INEOS are trying to start from fresh. We're so far behind. 5 years behind from all the top clubs in Europe right now. That's where United are. And that's the running of the Glazers and everybody that they employed in their time at Manchester United. It is solely down to them. They're the ones that employed everybody at the football club to run the football club, and they got that completely wrong. So we are 5 years behind everybody right now at the top level. That's a fact, 100%. And INEOS have to just draw the line. Like, stop the sauce, stop the issue, and then fix everything that's been left out there, and then rebuild again. Sadly, that's where we're at right now. Adam, everyone is ignoring the elephant in the room. If Sir Jim Ratcliffe was full genuine, he would sell some of his mega stake in onions, but out the toxic Glazers. Then Man United can truly move on. It's not so much an elephant in the room. We've talked about that, mate. He can. There is money there he wants to invest, but he cannot do it. He's invested what he can in infrastructure to a certain extent, I feel, without taking more power off the Glazers. Now, the play is he wants to move the Glazers on, but he isn't going to be able to do it in the first couple of years. He's at round about now, 29%, so he's creeping up. He's still a way off. The play is the stadium, ultimately, but the issue with the team, the issue with everything else right now has taken precedent, and we're kind of stuck in the middle a little bit. So all they can do is what they're doing, which is trying to cut what they can to try and make Manchester United, try and give us the possibility or option to actually sign players in the summer, I think, right now, and why we can't buy them in January. I have a strange feeling that INEOS hype PSR to enable Glazers take dividends if we make any sales or money in. Alan says, all managers destroy young players. Get these young guys in the team. They are better than the so-called first-team players. Well, we don't know yet, and we have to be very balanced with them because we could ruin their careers as well by doing it, and we have done that before. Jonathan David is better than Highland and Xerxes. He turns 25 in 4 days. He scored 17 goals this season. Yep, I know, 19 the season before, 24 the season before that. He does score a lot of goals, and he has got a great conversion ratio in the Champions League this season. He is a good player. Adam, do you not grasp it's Adam? Do you not grasp it's not what money you have, but what money you're allowed to spend? It hurts, doesn't it? Yeah, I did just explain that, Gary. I think I know, and that's why I'm saying INEOS do want to spend money, like the Saudis want to spend money at Newcastle, but you're not allowed to. Rules, rules, rules. Why every transfer window is going to be run by PSR, financial fair play, and agents. That's all it's about. Players moving around everywhere. Honestly, without agents, I think clubs would be spending a lot more money. The fees and charges and everything and percentages that them agents take, if you take that out of the game and clubs could run properly and get players on the right wages, then that is where we're actually at. That would change football completely. Like 90% of revenue pretty much goes into players' wages. And that's all driven from the agents. Agents' fees and wages for players is where most of the revenue that clubs make goes. That's their major outgoing. And look at what we're dealing with. You can see why we're up shit creek, can't you, really? With the players and the money that everybody's on. Let's get into some more of your comments. Domingo says, it's going to be tough until we get rid of the deadwood. Tom Porter says, United at over $1 billion in debt, overseen by the Glazers. If you think we're going to turn this around in a couple of years, you're deluded. Miam says, City went for a sporting director from Sporting to back Pep in Jan, while we only looked at getting their coach to improve the existing deadwoods. Not really, disagree with that one. And Viana isn't actually here yet for City. Ornstein leaves in the summer, and then Hugo Viana takes charge of City sporting operations in the summer, so he can't help them out in January. He can't do anything now anyway. I don't know football FC. We have to stop doing that. Oh, so it's someone else's comment in there. Next season, we need to bring Godwill and Dan Amo through. In terms of Manchester United's youngsters coming through, we've seen the pictures of the players that have been. Actually training around the Carrington, which is good. And I think we are now looking like we're at the stage of the season. I think definitely after the transfer window, where we can actually be looking into seeing maybe some more of these academy players coming through. So I think we're getting closer to that stage, and we will see. Interesting one that's just come out from Larry Whitwell, actually. Larry Whitwell on if Manchester United will sign a replacement if Rashford leaves in January. Ruben Amorim will want him replaced if he goes, and that brings us to Randal, Kolo, Muani, who David Ornstein reported on. Larry Whitwell on Talk of the Devils. That's a story that's just doing the rounds right now. Larry Whitwell talking on that one. Talk of the Devils podcast is saying that if Rashford does go, that Ruben Amorim will definitely want a replacement in. I've been saying this all along and been my big concern. Like, if we sell players, surely we do need to bring a little bit of experience in. I know it's difficult, and this is where I'm looking at. I'm going, Muani isn't the best in class, and he's a make weight. And I know from listening to what Ben Jacobs has been saying when talking about this deal, PSG are not in the market for letting players go for nothing. They are hard negotiators. And if United want to do deals with them again, honestly, I would find somebody else. I would find somebody else than Kawhi. I just don't want to deal with PSG, because what I'm told is there is a push from PSG to obligate this deal, and a fee that was brought up for Muani in conversation was between 60 and 80 million obligation. Forget Kolo Muani, honestly. He can go to Spurs or wherever. Now, what else was said about Kolo Muani's deal and the possibility of a loan with obligation was that could move in performance-related parameters. So it could move. The fee could go higher if he performs well. It could go lower if he doesn't perform well, and that being the obligation. So if it hits certain stipulations within his performance while on loan from now until the end of the season, the obligation fee would go up or go down. And apparently Daniel Levy was keen on that. So obviously, he wanting to earn money out of his investments. If he is going to be obligated to buy him in the summer, he's going to have to see plenty of purchase from the player himself. So that's the latest in from interesting one there from Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic, from the Talk of the Devils. Well picked up by United Exclusive on that as comments from the podcast that they were talking about there. David Ornstein was talking as well on, and that's where I've got the PSR side of things from it as well. But it's a tricky situation. Just having a bit of a scowl through right now. Another one from Andy Mitten from the podcast as well. There's been times when Real Madrid players have thought we're not quite at the level we were. We know we can go to Man United and get a wage increase. Oh God, that sounds horrible, doesn't it? It's a quote there from from Andy Mitten regarding Manchester United. And this is the problem. This is what I've been talking about. United have been seen as that easy road out. United have been seen as the easy target for players and agents. And this is everything that I'm talking about at the start of the show when I said, look, United right now have to change the culture. INEOS have to stop the leak and deal with the excess water afterwards. Cut it off now and then deal with the mess. And then after the mess has been cleared, you then need to rebuild. And that's what I meant by United being 5 years behind. Like, Andy Mitten isn't going to lie in what he said there. He lives in Spain. He knows what's happening in and around Barcelona and Real Madrid. He's the most connected journalist out there in England right now, Andy Mitten, by a mile. He knows what he's talking about. And if he says Real Madrid players see United as an easy way out, then that's true. And you can see that with Casemiro, with the money that he's got. Like, still playing at a decent level at an historic football club and a big club like United, taking advantage of the way that this club has been run for the last 10 years. We are an absolute embarrassment. And this is what I don't like. I don't like what INEOS are doing in terms of off the pitch with the ticket prices and all of the mess that's going on and the cuts. But they are having to deal with all of this. So it's only coming to the fore right now because INEOS are being so brutal and ruthless with a football club. And now we're moaning about it. But like I said before, we wouldn't be moaning about this as much if United were actually doing well. But because we're so bad off the pitch, because we're so bad on the pitch, because of the inadvocacies of people running a football club before that are now out of the football club and where they've left us, we're where we are. And that is in trouble. And we have to understand what's necessary first and fix this piece by piece. It cannot all be done in one go. And where I do still have hope that United could do something in this window, we might be able to squeeze something out. I am fully acceptant that something might not happen for the sake of not going down the road of mistakes we did before in buying players for the sake of it. When I look at Muani, I'm thinking there's a player there that scored less than Marcus Rashford this season. There's a player there that's in worse form than Marcus Rashford. I don't want him. I don't want Muani. I would forget that deal. Let him go to Spurs. And like I said before, dealing with PSG will take us to the cleaners. The fact that their valuation of Muani is upwards of 60 million already, and you can get Gyökeres for 60 million in the summer. City are about to buy Mamouche in January for 60 million. Sorry, Muani doesn't even come into the reckoning. Find somebody else. Honestly, I would, in terms of replacing him, I would bring an academy player through. I would rather have Wheatley in the matchday squad right now to come on and do a job for United than try and bring Muani in for Manchester United instead of, if Rashford goes, that is. Just don't actually think United should be going for players of the quality of Muani. I don't. I would move away from that one. That is, for me, going down the Wout Weghorst route. And I know he's better than him. I know he's had some performances for France this season. And away from PSG, he might be a different ball game. He might be a better player. I don't know. I'm not willing to take that risk, though. The unknown is not right for Manchester United right now. It's too much of a risk. That's where we're at. Let's get some more comments in. Please like the video. We're about to hit the 300 mark. Just under 1,500 in the room with us right now. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you have subscribed to Forever United TV as well. Past 70k the other day, which was mega. And we're already well on the road to the next 1,000 mark. So thank you, everybody, again. If Bruno plays like he played in the Liverpool game, nobody will want him out. And the same applies for all the players. But we want them out because we continue to see inconsistency. We know what these players are, basically. That's what we're at. They've got a lot of work to do to convince the fan base. And Bruno is prime example of that. Even people that have continuously criticised Bruno Fernandes as not good enough, a big problem at United. People in our chat here, and you know who you are, and you are right with your opinions and what you say. But even people like that were saying that's better from Bruno, but we need to see it next week. We need to see it again. We need to see it off season. Otherwise, you're not going to convince anybody. So yeah, where I am. On side with Bruno Fernandes, I like him more than a lot of other players in Manchester United's squad. I see everybody's critique of him. I understand it. I seen them same people praising him for his performance against Liverpool, and that is right. And do you know what? That is part of this community here on FUTV as well. I think we're fair. I think we're definitely fair in our critique and what we do and how we talk about players. But still, I do believe that people are right in saying that it needs to be more consistent, and they wouldn't complain about him. Like anything, if everything's running all right, you've got nothing to complain about. But everything that Man United have been doing has been going wrong recently. So anything past this point that doesn't look good is going to get overly criticised, and I think that's where we're at right now. Let's see what I've got. As if says, hi Adam, how on earth every top Premier League team is playing against Championship teams and only Arsenal got United? I feel sorry for Arsenal. Sorry for Arsenal. No, mate. I like the laughing emoji at the end as well there. Dale says, Adam, mate, you should never get your hopes up when it comes to this shithouse of a club. No one will come in and no one will go. Rashford will still be here next year. I give up, big man. Don't let yourself get there just yet. We've still got time. We've still got 23 days left of the transfer window. It's okay, mate. We're only a third of the way through. If it gets to the end and he's not gone, then I'll probably join you and just I'll be at the end, honestly. I'll feel like I've lost all hope if Rashford is still at Manchester United. I really will. The disaster Ten Hag did is beyond anyone's understanding. His shit may put us a few years. His shit may put us for a few years in real pain. Blame the Glazers and such, but what Eric did made abysmal decisions. Yes, he did. Bruno is a troublemaker if he's not the highest earner or the star at the club. He knows how to manipulate the other players. I don't think so. I disagree with that one, Sam. That is a bit too harsh on Bruno. I think Bruno is a good player. I think he is a good. I think he's a good example of Manchester United players over the last few years that have sort of stood up to the decline. I think he has kept a certain level. I get his flaws. I do. I understand it. I understand everyone's argument against it, like I said. And everyone's opinion of him is their own, and everyone has got a point. I just feel like we wouldn't be complaining about him that much if other players were actually performing well as well. That's just my point on that one there. But hey, I think that pretty much covers everything. We'll see what happens. It's good. We're back later on with the press conference for Ruben Amorim, so looking forward to that, to hear what he said, what's happened in training. We'll get more updates on Marcus Rashford, I'm sure, but we'll have that covered later on for you. And obviously we can start looking ahead now to game weekend. FA Cup football is here. The weekend is here, everybody, and it's full on now. Jam-packed football action from this weekend forward. 2 or 3 games a week, every single week, and yeah. It's going to be mental. I've got you covered, though, as always. Thank you, mods. Thank you, members. Thank you, everybody, for all of your comments. Drop your comments in on the video as well when the live is finished. Let me know what you're thinking about the situation we're in. And I will see you all later on this, probably around about lunchtime. I'll confirm on a post when the press conference is, and then we'll go from there, everyone. But for now, thank you. Have a great Friday, everybody. Stay safe, stay warm if you're in England. My God. Oh, quickly, sorry. Big shout out, I was going to do this before, for everyone over in California, in LA. I have family over there myself, so hope everyone is safe, hope everyone is well, and well wishes, hearts go out to everyone over there right now in California. It is an absolute horror show watching that. and what's going on there. So hopefully everyone is safe and stay strong over there in California right now. That is horrible to watch. So from everyone here at Forever United TV, I hope everyone is safe, please. And yeah, we don't like to see it. I'll see you all later on at lunchtime.